back in town, on a red baby, don't make me wait. Body like, been a long while, and I just wanna taste this be alone. I put it down when I come around.
Hi, you guys, and welcome back to Talkin Smack. Today, I'm super excited. I have my friend Sydney here. So we actually met, like 2 years ago or so?
Yeah, it was March of 21. That's right when I graduated school.
And it was right when I opened this space. You came and took a training from me. And I just remember your mom was your model, and you guys were so fun. And we were eating lunch. We were like talking about all the things.
I know. I was literally just thinking about that the other day, actually. Because we were sitting there eating lunch and I'm just like trying to scarf down my food. And my mom's asking you all these business questions. And I'm like, Mom, I'm getting so embarrassed. But you're like, you're answering everything. I was like, okay, Mom, take notes of that.
I think you even said that. You're like, Mom, let her eat.
No, I did. Yeah.
Chill. No, that was awesome. I had such a fun time with you in those 2 days. But I'm really excited to have you on the pod. So tell us a little bit about you, where people can find you on Instagram, and what you specialize in.
So my name is Sydney. My Instagram is Sugar Me Sydney. I'm located in Arlington now, and I do sugar hair removal, which is similar to waxing. I do lash lifts, brow laminations, and facials.
So do you not do lash extensions anymore? What made you decide?
I know. Okay, so I took my training with you in March. That whole summer, all I was doing was lashes, and it was great for that time. But then I was like, I don't like this anymore. Like, I'm not having fun. I continued to do it all the way. I just took it off my books this May, actually. So I don't know. I just I wasn't looking forward to it. And I would see a lash appointment on my schedule and be like, yay, fun. I'm so excited. But once I moved to Arlington, that's when I really started to get super busy with lashes. I was getting so many more clients for it, which was great because I was like making more money, but I hated it. So I was like, okay, it's time to take this off of my books. I mean, I have 2 lash clients that I still take, but other than that, I'm like, no, not happening. So, and it's been great since then. So,
and I think that's what's so great about owning your own business and being able to decide like, okay, what do I actually want to specialize in?
Right.
What do I like doing? And that's kind of something I dealt with too when I was lashing full time and then getting into permanent makeup. I was like, I'm excited about permanent makeup now. Like, this is what is fun for me. This is what I'm looking forward to. And I feel like knowing or not feeling like a failure for being like, oh, well, I'm so booked in this. Like, why would this be something that I would give up? But getting to that point of just being like, you know what? I like doing these other services more, and being able to have the courage to be like, I know this is bringing me a lot of money, but I want to focus on these other things.
Right. And that's something I was super stressed about, actually, because I was in Monroe until April, and that's when I moved to my space in Arlington now. And I got so busy with lashes. I was like, okay, this is great, whatever. But then I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. And I had that fear. I was like, I don't want to take it off my menu, and then my books are empty. I think I first took it completely off my menu in May, and then June was the best month that I had ever had at that point. And I was like, okay, I feel a lot better now. I'm just focusing on the things that I actually want to do, which was a game changer and just my mood in general. Because I don't want to not like going to work. I love my job. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's so hard for some people to actually take a step back and prioritize what actually fulfills them and what actually makes them happy. So when you took that off your books, did you have a lot of your extension clients transfer over and be like, oh, well, I still want to see you. I'm going to do sugaring, or I'm going to try all these other things?
Yeah. So there were quite a few of them that actually we just removed their lashes completely and did a lash lift. A few of them have started doing sugaring, which is really nice. So I'm still able to see them on a consistent basis. So where I'm at right now, I'm located inside of a salon, and there's girls upstairs that do lashes. So I was able to kind of send those girls upstairs. So I still see them from time to time, which is nice too. So
that's so nice. Okay. So I have a question about sugaring. I swear, you guys, I'm the worst esthetician when it comes to skin or sugaring, waxing, all that stuff, because I went straight to lashes. I was like, I could not even care about any of these other things. So what is actually the difference between sugaring and waxing, and what makes people nervous about coming to see you for that?
So
specifically Brazilians.
Yeah. So that is what I do the most of, for sure. The concept of sugaring and waxing is pretty much the same. Sugar is just a lot more natural. It's literally sugar, water, and lemon. So it's a lot better for sensitive skin types. I just prefer using sugar. I just like doing it a lot better than wax. I had a couple of not so great experiences getting waxed myself. And then when I got sugared for the first time, I was like, okay, this is so cool. I was literally getting my Brazilian done. I'm like, this looks so cool. Like, let me see how to do that. And that's when I kind of went into school like, okay, I'm going to be sugaring. Like, that's what I want to focus on mainly. But obviously, like, coming in to get a Brazilian is scary. I feel like you're laying there and you're exposed and it's a very vulnerable position to be in. But I do my best to make everyone feel super comfortable, and it makes me feel so good. Like when people leave their appointment, like I felt so comfortable. Like I did not, like the thought of laying there literally like naked and exposed went out of my mind after the first 5 minutes. And I feel like it's that initial, like you're getting undressed and you're laying on the bed and you're like, okay, what's going to happen now? I've been doing my own Brazilians for the last couple of years now.
What?
Yeah. So I actually, you know, it's not easy. I go from like sitting to standing to like propping myself above a mirror. So now we go to somebody else. I started going 2 months ago to somebody else, which has been a game changer. I just like wasn't really prioritizing my own. So I'm like, I just did 8 Brazilians. Like I do not feel like sitting here and doing my own, but it's been really cool to see kind of like the differences, like how other people do it. So when I go and get my Brazilian, like she leaves the room, she lets me get up on the bed, like whatever. And then when I have my clients come in, we just kind of get right to it. And I feel like when somebody is a new client, and it's the first time they're coming in, they're kind of like, okay, so what do I do now? I'm like, yep, we're just going to drop the pants. We're going to get up on the bed and we're going to get to it. But I feel like once we start going after the first couple minutes, everyone gets pretty comfortable and it's not a big deal anymore. So
I remember the very first Brazilian I got. This is the most embarrassing story, you guys. So you know how sometimes they like put the towel on you or whatever and like cover you halfway? I was like kind of nervous. So my legs were like a little closer together. And she's like, you need to like come out.
You need to spread them.
Spread them, girl. And I just remember it was so funny. And she actually asked me something if I had a boyfriend, and my high school boyfriend and I had recently broken up, and I started crying on the
You're lying to me.
Crying on the table. I'm not lying. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like,
oh my goodness.
Just broken up. It was so funny.
Okay. Well, my first Brazilian, was at the Everett Mall. So my defense, it was only supposed to be a bikini wax. And then she's like, well, do you want all of it? And I was like, well, yeah, like don't just do one side. And I think I was like 16 and she took all of it, like literally everything. And I was laying there like, what is happening to me right now? Like I'm literally like holding my butt cheek up, like what is going on? And my mom was like walking around the mall at the time, and she came back after my appointment. She's like, how did it go? I was like, we have to leave. Like we have to go right now. She's like, oh, it's like, it wasn't a bikini wax, Mom. Like everything. It was a lot. But the fact that just like my first bikini wax was at the Everett Mall.
Everett Mall.
What?
Well, I think about it too now, like anytime I've done like laser hair removal, but anytime like I want to go get sugared or something because I have like little random patches that grow back, I'm the same way now. I'm like, just drop them, like no shame, like who cares at this point? And I think one of my fears going into it was like, oh my gosh, they're looking at my most private part and like this is scary. And now it's like, you have to look at it like they see so many a day. They're not going to remember what you look like. And it does not matter. No. Like that's their job.
Everyone looks so different. Like it's so normal to be uncomfortable. Like I even like two months ago, and I went and got my first one done by somebody else in a while. I was like sitting in the car. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Like, but it's what I do. And I'm like, it's not weird. It's not uncomfortable. Like it's fine. We'll get through it. It'll be good. I understand why people are so uncomfortable by it, but
well, and I feel like too, like any person that I've been sugared by like talks to you throughout the service. So it's like kind of takes your mind elsewhere.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, it's normal to get sweaty. It's normal to be like nervous.
No, for sure. And a lot of people that I've had come to me that have gone to like somebody else in the past or like tried it out and whatever, they have said that like they weren't talked to during the service and it was super uncomfortable. And like that was my first couple of experiences too. Like I sat there in silence, like what, like when are we going to be done? Like there was no conversation. And that's what makes it so uncomfy too. Like I feel like if you sit there and you talk and you make conversation, like it's going to distract the client from the pain too. And it makes a big difference. So
and it's really not that painful.
It's not.
I feel like sugaring was less painful for me than waxing.
That's how I feel too. Like the wax, I think my biggest thing with it is like it's so hot when it's going on. And especially after you just removed like that patch of hair and you go to like apply it again and you're touching that exposed skin, like it's so uncomfy. comfy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with sugar, it's not hot. So
yeah, it's not as bad. I actually have a funny story. Kind of relating back to you doing your own Brazilian. I tried to give myself my own Brazilian one time, and same thing. I had like my legs up, like doing all the things, and I couldn't get anything right, and I bruised myself like everywhere, and I had a gynecologist appointment the like next couple of days.
Yeah.
So I'm all bruised down there. I've completely forgotten about all this, and it was a male, and he was like, honey, like, do we need to talk about this? Like, are you okay? Like, is everything good? And I was like, oh, no. Like, I tried to sugar myself. I'm in beauty school. Like, no one's hurting me.
My gosh.
I was like, I'm okay.
I'd be mortified.
Yeah, I was like, because obviously the sheet, and I had completely forgotten. I wasn't even thinking about it. And he like pops his head up, and I was like, he's like tilts his glasses down. He's like, do we need to have a conversation? And I was like, I did this to myself. I promise.
Like, nothing happened. It's all me.
I was like, this is so embarrassing.
Well, the first time that I ever tried to do my own Brazilian, I used hard wax, and I don't like wax. Like, I'm not comfortable with wax. We don't wax. I was at home. It's when I was still in beauty school. So I was using hard wax, and I was using like one of the big stick applicators, and I just like wasn't working fast enough, and it got hard and it got stuck, and the stick was the wrong way. And I was like, how am I going to pull this off right now? I literally locked the door. I was like, nobody's coming in right now. Like I started like panicking. I'm like, I'm going to have a panic attack. I had to go eat a granola bar because I thought I was going to pass out. We got it off, and I've never used hard wax since then. So,
okay. So I know you went out on your own right after beauty school. How was that? Were you nervous, or were you kind of in the mindset of, I'm going to make this work?
I was nervous for sure. Like, I definitely had those thoughts like, okay, what happens if it doesn't work? But I never had the thought that like I was going to go work for somebody else. Like, from the beginning, it was like, okay, when I'm done with school and I have my business, like, that's just what we're going to do.
Do you feel like you had a lot of things you had to learn through trial and error? Did you feel like you were like, okay, I kind of have some people I can go to ask questions? Or was there anything that you feel like, oh, this is what I would do differently if I had to go back?
I mean, I feel like you're always learning. There's constantly things you're like, oh, wow, okay, definitely would have done that a little differently. I remember I was actually trying to find the files back in high school when I was doing like my scholarship essays and stuff. They were so all over the place. They were just like, I want to be a business owner. I want to have my own business. I don't know what that entails. Like, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but that's the direction we're going in. Yeah. So
do you have any like words of encouragement or pieces of advice that you would tell someone in beauty school who wants to start their own business?
I've reached out to you multiple times. I've reached out to Sarah multiple times, like just asking all these questions. And I feel like that's something people are nervous to do a lot of the time, is ask questions. They don't want to sound dumb, or like they don't understand the concept or whatever it may be. But you need to ask the questions. Like, you need the help. You can't expect to just go out on your own for the first time ever and have it all figured out. Like, you need to have help.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like even me too, I'm still learning that 8 years into it. Like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not know all the answers to things.
Right.
And being able to like have people in your life, in your circle, that you can go to and ask advice, or, you know, be like, hey, this is an idea I have. Can you be a soundboard for me? Or whatever that looks like. Just having people that you know that will support you and be excited for you, or be like, hey, that's a really dumb idea. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Like, you need people that are going to be honest with you. And I love that. Like, even just having you and your mom in the studio for your training, like, it was so cool, because we were talking about exactly that, like whether you wanted to try and work for someone else or whether you wanted to go out on your own. And it was so cool to see your mom just sit there and be like, no, you should do it.
Exactly.
Like, have that full support. And I know not a lot of people have that. And I just think that's so special and really cool.
Oh, yeah. I think I definitely lucked out in that department. Everyone in my life is so supportive, which is great. Like, you need that support system. I don't know what I would do without it. And in school, actually, I was kind of thinking like, okay, all these girls I'm in school with, like, they're going to be my competition. Like, we can't sit there and like discuss business and things like that. But it's crazy now, because like after being in the industry and experiencing and doing things and actually like being in it, like, my friends are my biggest support as well. Like, yeah, we're both doing the same things and we're in the same area and we're trying to get clients in for the same services and stuff, but you still need that support system, and you want to see them succeed as well. You don't want to be like, okay, I'm the only one with clients, I'm doing good, and you guys are failing.
And I think at the core of this all is just having the confidence, knowing that you're going to find your right clientele.
Right.
And it's okay for someone to not like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the beginning, it's so hard. Like anytime I had an unhappy client or anytime I had someone not come back, I was like, I did something wrong. Like they didn't like me.
Right.
And ultimately, not everybody's going to like you, for one. And two, you don't want the people in there that don't like you.
Exactly.
And instead of looking at it like, oh, they didn't like something about me, look at it differently. Like, oh, they just need something different. They need XYZ and I'm not that for them. And this is making room for a new client to come in to see me that we're going to vibe and we're going to be a match. I think the same thing in dating.
Oh, for
like,
sure. Yeah.
Business partners, anything like that. Like instead, I feel like so many people get in the mindset of I'm doing something wrong. I'm not enough.
Right.
XYZ, whatever that is, instead of looking at it outwardly like, oh, does this fulfill me? Does this make me happy? Did I think I vibed with this client? Or, you know, just looking at it in that way instead of thinking it's something on us.
And that's something I actually experienced a lot on my Instagram, actually. Like every time I'd post a Brazilian picture, so many people would unfollow me and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I need to stop posting them. People are getting uncomfortable. And I 100% just got out of that mindset. I'm like, whatever, like if they see it and it makes them uncomfortable, they're welcome to unfollow me. It doesn't bother me anymore at all. It used to be like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Like people are so upset about this, but now I'm just like, whatever. I kind of like the last time I posted one the other day, I kind of kept track. 13 people unfollowed me after like I posted that picture. And I was just like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the people that like that stuff, like I'm personally, every time you post one, I'm like fascinated. I like scroll to see the hair and then like the smooth skin. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I think I could say the same thing about like pimple popping videos.
Right.
Some people will go down a rabbit hole and be watching them for hours.
Oh,
and other people are like, I can't stomach that. And just finding the right people.
It was funny because it was a few weeks ago. I had a couple friends that came in together for their Brazilians. And when I like pull the hair, I kind of like look at it in the sugar. I'm like, ooh, this looks so cool. And I'll show my client, I'm like, look at all that hair that just came out. And so I had showed the girl and her friend was sitting there like, I told you she's so weird. She'll literally sit there and show you the hair. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like,
I love it though.
this.
I'm like, yeah. Gonna show you the ingrown hairs, gonna show you the pimples, gonna show you everything. So
that's like a couple of my guy friends, I'll wax their nose hairs. They'll like all come down here. It'll be at night. We'll have like our White Claws or Topo Chicos or whatever, whatever drink. And I'll be waxing everybody's nose. And we're like passing around
I love
sticks.
it.
And everyone's
Like who had the most hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, look how much this one. And like, so one of the guys we have to go back in twice because he has so
That's
much
me.
hair.
I literally have so much nose hair. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit there and wax it. My skin lifts super easily. One reason I do not like wax. My skin is just super sensitive on my face. My skin's gonna lift. Every time I wax my nose hairs, my skin is lifted. I'm like, perfect. It's burning.
Doesn't feel great.
It's not, no.
But honestly, waxing my nose is like my favorite thing ever to do.
Oh, same.
And I thought it was going to be so painful at first. And when I started doing it, I was like,
it's so satisfying too.
But lifting, that would not be fun.
No, it's not good. And you can see it. So
just got to
avoid it. Yeah.
Aquaphor.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so tell me a little bit about, are you training soon?
Soon, hopefully. So that's the plan. Next year, I'd like to start training. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm excited. I feel like I have lots of girls messaging me wanting to do trainings, and I don't offer any trainings. I'm like, here's who does it. I had thought about doing just Brazilian trainings or doing sugar certification trainings. I was lucky enough in school, I was able to get my sugar certification, but I think all the other schools don't actually offer it. So those girls that are graduating are going to have to go look elsewhere to take a class if they want that. And I'd like to be that person that's able to provide it for people. I actually, in January, am doing kind of like a practice training for somebody, and I'm super excited about that, kind of get the ball rolling and see how it goes.
Well, I mean, since you're on camera and I have you here, do you have any feedback for me on my in-person course or online course? Anything that you would like to see or any questions you want to ask now that I can answer for you?
Well, now I'm on the spot. I don't know. I think something that I wanted to touch more on was shadowing. You did touch on that on the online session. And that's something that I would have loved to do as a student or as a newer esthetician, I'm still a new esthetician, but like newer, fresh out of school, I would have loved to shadow somebody like doing Brazilians or sugaring or doing brow laminations or anything. So that's something that I would really like to provide for people. I feel like it makes a huge difference, not necessarily like a one-on-one training, but like sitting there and seeing how you're interacting with your clients and how you go about certain situations, because there's not one person that comes in that's the same. So obviously you're going to have to kind of adjust what you're doing to that specific person and just kind of watching that. So kind of how to get into the shadowing type situation.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just talking about your offers. Like if shadowing is something that you want to offer, put it out there. And I think too, so many of us think we're being salesy or we're being annoying or we're being whatever. Like, oh, like I talked about it once and nobody bought my training or nobody bought my thing. Psychology says people need to see an offer anywhere from 7 to 12 times before they buy, unless you're impulsive like me and you buy things on the spot. And so I think just talking about your offers and knowing that you can change the structure of it at any time, especially like do the guinea pig thing again, or just say like, hey, I'm starting to offer shadowings. You can shadow me all day. You can shadow me for a half day. These are the prices. My first few guinea pigs get XYZ. And then basically what I did, anytime I did shadowing, I would just have certain clients that I knew were familiar with me or comfortable or didn't care if somebody else was there. And I would just say, hey, like, to the shadow-e, I would just say, hey, these are my clients. I typically have, this conversation with them. Write down your questions if we're in conversation. If they're silent, ask me anything that you want. Or if there's anything you want me to show you, let's talk about that before so I can make sure I do that in this set. Or whatever I'm doing. Because that was really beneficial for people to come shadow me when I was doing fills. Because a lot of the time in beginner trainings, you're taught how to do a full set and you're kind of taught how to do a fill. But there's so many questions when it comes to them actually doing it in person. And like, I'm someone who learns really well through doing and like seeing somebody else doing it. And so shadowing is so beneficial for people like me. But like some people can just be taught all the information and they're good to go. But with shadowing, I think that would be really good to just talk about your offers, because then you have your guinea pig in and you're like, okay, I would do this differently. I would do this differently. I would do that differently. Or like, okay, I'm going to keep these three things that I liked about this experience. And then going from there and then just talking about it, especially if you have certain days on your books that you're like, oh, all of these clients would be down. And that was always where I would text them and be like, hey, I'm going to have someone come in and shadow. Do you mind? Or maybe bring headphones this time. And so I can focus on the student or whatever, especially if it was a client who had been with me for a long time and knew that I did trainings. So I think that would be a really good place to start. Yeah. I mean, that's something I definitely want to get into. I think it makes it a little more tricky doing like a full Brazilian versus a set of lashes or something. But I work Sundays and usually my Sundays are typically all regular clients. I don't usually have new clients on Sundays, which is really nice. So that's probably something that I could kind of implement into that and be like, okay, well, are you up for it? Because they need help. So that's also something where too, if somebody wants to shadow you specifically for Brazilians, say, hey, bring in 3 of your friends. Your price of the shadowing is going to include whatever my service price is for those 3 Brazilians. And so that way it's people that they're comfortable with, and you meeting them for the first time, you're giving them an experience. And then especially too, like if it's their friend, instead of doing it like a full training, but you could be like, here, I'm going to give you a glove and one side you can do this tiny section here. Or like, especially when I knew I got a sugaring training. I don't know if it was great, but she would like have us put our hand on her hand so we could see kind of the pressure, or she would push on our hand to show us how much pressure or show us like how the skin was moving. So that might be something that you could do where it would make everybody feel comfortable. And then you're not putting your clients on the spot where they feel like obligated to help you out, but now they have some other random person that they may not be comfortable with. That's actually such a good idea. I haven't thought about that because I've just been like, okay, I know my clients that would be down for it, like wouldn't care, but like not everyone has their appointment in the same week and stuff. And they like to stay on track. So I was trying to figure out how I could kind of like implement that in. I'm definitely going to do that now. So. Especially on your slower days too. Like we talked about, like this industry, most people, I mean, some people are fully booked at all times. And those people need to raise their prices. But on the flip side of things, a lot of people's clientele goes up and down. And on those slower months, to be able to implement that and probably make more than you would with just taking clientele is really great. And then getting your foot into training more. And then you get reviews from them and you get feedback from them. And then you just do that more, especially if you're someone that wants to kind of, you know, maybe not now, but get into that space of like, all right, I want to focus on training with majority of my time, and then still take my homies that like are my favorite clients.
And that's something that like I'm very open with all my clients for the most part. And like we talk about like their personal life and my personal life, things like that. I'm like, yeah, I really want to get into training. And I've had quite a few people like, are you going to stop? Like, are you still going to
leave me?
I'm like, no, I'm not at the point at all where I'm like, okay, I want to step away from clients. I just want to focus on trainings and online things. I'm very much still like, I love my days. I want to be there interacting with my clients, and that's what I want to be doing. So I have no plans of slowing that down at any point, just kind of like adding training in there. But back to like having the people in that it's their friends and they're comfortable with them, that is such a good idea, because I feel like even when I take pictures, I feel like a lot of people are nervous to even book that initial appointment, thinking like, okay, she's going to take a picture, like it's going to be posted on Instagram. But I never ask my clients, like, can I take a picture? Like, I just kind of wait until they're like, you can take a picture if you want. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you so much. Because even though like I do have all those people that unfollow me every single time I post a Brazilian before and after, at the same time, that's when I have like all these new clients booking their appointments because they like seeing the before and afters. Like a few weeks ago, I had somebody come in for their very first appointment. It was the first time I was ever meeting her. And I had already gotten started, like already laid the sugar down on her body. And she was like, are you going to take before and afters? I was like, oh, thank you. Yes. Let me remove this completely and I'll get that. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I think another thing before I forget, when you're doing these shadowings, when you're doing trainings, document it. Take photos, because that was something that I didn't do the first few years. I like didn't take a picture with them at the end with a certificate. And then I'd be like, oh, I've been doing all these trainings,
but I have nothing to show for it. So yeah.
Like, are you sure? And like taking photos and videos and little things, or like having your shadowy or like trainee take a video of you doing like that spot with other things covered and you like explaining it, like having that social proof, because people want to see that. People like to see behind the scenes things. And then another thought before I forget, like thinking about the vanity metrics, exactly like you said, even though I'm getting people unfollowing me, these posts have a purpose. And there's a strategy behind posting them, even if I know I'm losing followers, but I'm gaining clients.
Exactly.
And I think that's where people get so confused on like, oh, this person has X amount of followers, or like coaches who have 2,000 followers are making bank. And it's like the vanity metrics are so not worth worrying about.
And that's something too. I feel like from the very beginning of school, I was very much like, okay, I'm documenting everything. Like I'm taking before and afters. I was trying to like tell my friends to do it as well. And it's just like, it's uncomfortable, but you got to do it. It's so funny because I'm very much like very open on my business page. Like I post everything. Like I don't really care at all. Like there's no filter. But then on my personal Instagram, I'm like, I'm scared to like post pictures. Like, it's weird. I'm definitely in my comfort zone with work. And that's something too, like I posted a few weeks ago. I'm like, does anybody want to come in for like a discounted service? I need to take videos. Because trying to get that content of like actually sugaring on somebody is so difficult. I had my friend in for a Brazilian a few weeks ago, and I was like, can you try? Like, just try and take a video. Like, try. She was like sitting there. She's like, everything's in it. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, it's a struggle, but we're trying to figure it out. So.
I love that. Do you have any do's and don'ts or any things that you feel like have excited you about social media or helped keep you consistent?
I think it's just super important to be posting like what you like. I remember the first time I posted a Brazilian picture, it was a while ago, and I was like, this is so scandalous. Like I see nobody posting these pictures. I was so nervous to do it. And then there was like a ton of comments on it. I was like, okay, cool. And then I kind of like, it made me uncomfortable again. I was like, people are going to get so uncomfy by this. They're going to get offended or whatever, like the reason may be. So I didn't post forever. And now every time I post a picture of like a Brazilian before and after, that's when I get the most interaction. It's when I get the most people commenting on my posts, liking on them, booking appointments. So I kind of just had to get my mind away from like, okay, every time I post something, people are unfollowing me. They don't like it. It doesn't matter, like whatever. Those people that are following you, like you could have so many followers, but those people aren't clients. And I feel like it's something that I've had to like tell my friends as well. I mean, I don't have a crazy amount of followers, but when it was going up a bit, I was like, they're not clients. Like not every single person following me is booking an appointment. So don't worry so much on the number versus like the content that you're putting out and like the message you're trying to get across. And yeah.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like too, like even thinking about me, like when I post on my grid about like courses that are coming up or things like that, they might get like maybe 30 likes. And it doesn't matter because if I have 5 people DMing me being like, I need to sign up for this course, I need to come and take your training.
Right.
Like that's the goal of that post. And so I feel like people get hung up on the likes or like, oh, this only got so many likes, like I need to delete it or I need to do whatever. Or even like with reels, I feel like so many people are afraid to like put their face forward. And I remember when you started posting reels, like the funny ones, it must have been like a year ago or something, but I remember seeing one of yours and I was like, this girl is funny.
Well, that's
I love this.
One of the biggest things that I remember we were talking about at my training. You were asking me like what I wanted to improve on, what I wanted to get better on. And I was like, I am so scared to show my face on social media. Like it is so uncomfortable for me to get on my stories and talk or post a reel with my face in it. Like that is just not me at all. Like I do not like that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to write it down and I'm going to check in with you and you're going to start posting yourself on social media. And I was like, okay, like I have to start doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah. And it makes such a big difference because like you were saying before, like you've said it so many times, like you had somebody come to you for an appointment and they didn't know if it was you or not, like your face wasn't on social media. And now when I look at other people's accounts and I'm like, I don't know what this person's name is. I don't know what they look like why would I book an appointment? Like, I don't know what I'm walking into type of situation. So yeah, I think it's super important to be posting your face on social media so people know your personality, know what you look like. They're not walking in like blind to an appointment. Like, what am I getting here? So
I'm a huge advocate for that now, obviously, if you guys didn't already know, because of that situation. And like I had other lash artists messaging me being like, show your face more. Like, we like when you post about yourself. And I was like, nobody wants to see me. Nobody wants to hear my opinion. Nobody wants to see me do a stupid reel. But the more I did it, and I think that was the biggest thing, I was nervous to post reels. I was nervous to put my face out there because it's like, okay, now I'm putting myself up for rejection. I'm putting myself up for judgment. And like, what are people going to think of me?
Right.
And like, you really have to get out of your own way and get out of your own head about that, because it's just furthering my point of you're not for everyone, but the people that I'm right for, like I have value to give them. I have something that I have to offer them. They want to hear my voice. They want to hear my opinions. They want to see my face. Now my grid is my whole face. Like that's it. Yeah. I don't know if I post anything anymore, but like, and I think too, like the biggest thing for me is posting yourself more, showing a little bit more of your personality just lets people connect with you so much easier. And maybe that's the tipping point of them feeling comfortable enough to book an appointment with you or book a training with you or a coaching call or whatever that looks like. And so it's like, you kind of just got to get out of your own way.
Right. And I think at the beginning, when I first started posting like funny reels or my face or like audio that like was embarrassing or funny or whatever it may be, I think my biggest thought was like, okay, my grandma follows me, her friends follow me on here, like there's people from high school following me on here, like that's so embarrassing. And what if they're like, okay, she said a bad word, like I'm not gonna see her because of that. I think just being myself on my Instagram has brought me like my favorite kind of people. When somebody comes in, like they know what to expect. Like
exactly.
We don't have a filter. We talk about like whatever we want to talk about. And that makes a big difference too. Like even decorating my first space, I didn't like it at all. Like I was like, okay, but this is like what people want to see when they come in. Like they want it to be a calming and relaxing environment. Like I should have it like very mellow in here. And then a few months later, I was like, oh my gosh, like I hate walking in here. This is not my vibe at all. And I was talking to one of my clients about it. She's like, oh my gosh, like I love the stuff you have in here. And I was like, take it, like literally go home with it today. Like I'm starting over. I don't want it. And it's important just to be you. Like you're going to attract the people that like want to see you and have the same kind of vibe as you. And that's definitely something I had to figure out. I was trying to 100% just be a people pleaser and like, okay, this is what they want to see. This is what they want. This is what I'm going to be. And And once I stopped caring about like looking professional or like having like the best place for them to lay in, like I feel like it took off from there. So
I feel like I couldn't like resonate with that more because in the beginning, or even like when I started showing up on social media with my face or talking on stories, it was, I have to be professional. I have to have my makeup and hair done. I have to be like this other person who's doing it this way. And I feel like the more you turn inward, the more you think about, what do I actually want to be talking about? Like, it's so much easier to just show up as yourself and build from there and attract the right people. And I think that's one of my favorite compliments I've gotten from people is if they've followed me and then met me in real life, they're like, you're literally the same person. I was like, I couldn't try to be
perfect.
Anybody else.
I'm doing my job right then.
Like, and I think it's so much easier to show up as yourself than try to pretend to be this perfect person. And people don't relate to that. They relate to the messy. They relate to the fucking random shit that we end up doing, or the failures or the, you know, problems that we run into. People relate to that. And it's honestly just so much easier to show up as yourself.
Oh yeah. And even posting on my story the other day when I drove to Seattle for the first time, I was like, this is such a big deal. Like, honestly, this is the most proud of myself I've ever been. Like, this is not me at all. And I was like, why am I posting that? That's so embarrassing. Like, I literally just drove to another city, but the amount of people that messaged me were like, oh my gosh, like, good job. I'm so proud of you. Or I have the same struggle and things like that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. It was fine. Cause I started like, I put a little question box up and people were posting like things that they were proud of. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to delete this whole thing. Like, it is not a big deal that I drove my car 45 minutes. But then I was like, okay, I'm going to keep it up. People are being so supportive of me and so nice. And like, they relate to that. So
no, and I think it was so cool because I was looking at your stories and you were sharing other things that people were proud of.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's another thing to think about. Like, we need to be more proud of ourselves. We need to be more excited for ourselves, even if it's little things like that, or even if it's something that we think is ridiculous, like driving to Seattle, or like me getting on flights. Like, I get nervous flying. Yeah. And other people could be like, you're ridiculous. But there's going to be way more people that are like, I relate to that. Like, I'm also a nervous flyer. I'm a drunk flyer. I have to drink
me too.
Before, or like take a Xanax or something because I get nervous, and like, that's okay. And even though like in the moment I might think I'm being ridiculous, like, it's a very real fear, and other people have that very real fear. It's the same thing with social media, like putting your face on social media. Very many people have that real fear of, I don't want to put my face forward, right? Because I'm worried about the judgment or the ridicule or whatever. And like, it's relatable, unfortunately, all the fears that we have. But I just think it was so cool because you connected with so many people. Right. And you were able to share other people's wins and be excited about them. And it's like, that's what people want. They want that connection. They want that community. They want that, you know, circle that not a lot of people have that are supportive.
And I think that's important too, is to like share yourself and your wins and things that I feel like for a while I was like trying there to be too relatable. So I was like, okay, I need people to like me. And that was like something I had a hard time with too for a long time. It's like, I want everyone to like me, but like, that's just not the reality of the situation. Like, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone needs to like you. And I feel like once I kind of figured that out, it was just kind of like a deep breath. Like, I was like, okay, I can relax. I can be myself. Like, I don't need to put on the show. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about your future plans. Anything coming up besides training?
I don't know. Honestly, I try not to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is the time that I have to get it done in. Somebody had asked me like a few months ago what my like 5-year plan was. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I literally don't know. I think right now I'm just focusing on like learning as much as I can still, taking more classes, being the best service provider that I can be. Getting into training, getting into classes, I think is my next step as far as future plans. I mean, I'd love to have my own building one day, have people in there renting rooms. But yeah, that's it. I'm trying not to like get too ahead of myself here. So
thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me. Me too. I was so nervous, but once we started talking, I was like, okay, I can relax a little bit.
Like, oh, we're good. I'm just talking to Matt.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, you guys, we're running a Christmas deal. Don't forget to use code Christmas for 20% off all online courses, coaching, and trainings. And we'll catch you in the next one.